Hi.
Welcome to
Good to
this.
be together.
It's always great to be with you, Liz. It's a,
Same
it's a wonderful opportunity to just look at what gifts are we bringing to the world today. And we
here.
have something juicy to talk about today. So,
Yeah.
shall we get into this lovely conversation, this inquiry that I don't see many people speaking about or exploring, but I see how necessary it is right now to explore our inner darkness.
Yeah.
Not just explore it, do it together. Like, you don't have to do it alone. Because I think a lot of the reasons why people don't explore their whatever they perceive to be their inner darkness is because we've been taught it's scary in there. That's where your shadow is. That's where your demons are. That's where your weaknesses are. That's where your character defaults are. That's where your bad things are. All these ways we've labeled that's whatever they call that side of us. Because who says it's a side?
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're right. There's quite a bias against darkness.
It's
Entering
huge.
darkness and entering our own darkness feels, like you said, pretty scary.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're really inviting people to do, women, because this is about nourishing the female soul,
Yes. This
to
is a women's
recognize
only.
how dark she is and how delicious she is and how
Delightful.
important she is
Magnificent.
and magnificent, and that
Yes.
we've been kind of sold a whole goods on darkness that penetrates every aspect of our life, but unconsciously.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just a truth. Okay, let me put it to it. Truth
Yeah.
that governs our decisions, governs our pursuit of light, our fast pursuit of enlightenment, our pursuit of staying in the light and being light and fluffy and being light and happy and gay and all these ways that we think we're supposed to be as women.
Mhm.
And we don't see that this pursuit of the light is one of those invisible cages. It's one of those prisons.
Mm. It is.
It's
It
very
is.
distracting. It's very distracting because if you're focused on that, what are you not focused
Boy, that's the perfect question because to me, the turning towards the darkness is where life begins. So if
on?
what
Everything,
I'm really
everything.
looking for is my own soulfulness, I have to turn towards that darkness and I have to embrace
Yes.
our darkness together inside and see how it then echoes out into our lives, into our social structures. And so it's a two-way cage. I'm also accepting that imprisonment of lightness. Like I have to be going towards the light. So I have to keep going. I have to work harder. I have to be more. I have to, climb the ladder. I have to find the whatever that's, coming
Nirvana.
out of something, nirvana, whatever. And yet here we are on earth and here we are rooted in darkness in the very soil of life itself.
Well, I think we ought to be rooted in the soil. I don't think we are.
No,
I
many
think
people
the effect
are
where
floating.
they're floating, I think that is the problem, that they're not rooted. Because if we were even a little bit rooted in the soil, we wouldn't have the level of schizophrenia, the level of, uh, and I'm not talking about medical diagnosis. I'm talking about this schizophrenia that has us torn between too much and not enough, torn between the binaries of
Yes,
too good, not good enough, bad, wrong. I mean, we wouldn't be
white,
that
black.
kind. Yeah, we wouldn't be in that schizophrenia if we were rooted in the
Mm,
soil.
I
So I
agree.
say we're not. I say that would serve us to be rooted. That would nourish us to be rooted. That would fulfill us to be rooted. And we're not. We're floating. And I think a lot of our anxiety and stress comes from not belonging to the earth and not in whatever ideal light form, nirvana, heaven we're supposed to be, that we're constantly pursuing, but we'll never attain.
Yeah. Well, that rootedness in my world is something we can't not be. So in a way, you can't be here if you're not in a body, okay? At least not in a form. And so there is earth provides. We eat food from the earth. We walk upon the earth, even if there's layers of cement between us and the earth. We are shaped by gravity.
Mm-hmm.
We literally are the earth. But to me, that split, that's kind of psychotic split you're speaking of, using that word not as a medical term, but as a kind of consciousness,
Consciousness,
the
yeah.
split in our thinking that overpowers this deep bond that we have with Mother Earth. And we see it through the birth process, we see it through religion, we see it through cultural beliefs. You know, Earth is dirty. You got to wash your hands of it. You have
Yeah,
to
clean.
clean it. It's like you don't touch it. Don't touch that. It's dirty. It's like from every angle of the culture, you see this denial of relationship with Earth in the Western paradigm, in the colonization paradigm. Go to indigenous cultures, they're connected to Earth. They value this kinship. So the split is to me, goes back, as you know, through history that you've spoken of so eloquently about all the ways that we have been split from this, and now we consider that normal. And we're looking
Is
for
it?
our rooting, we're looking for returning. So the spiral back into our darkness is a way of beginning to reconnect with what is essentially ours to connect with, which is Mother Earth, our bond with her, our bond with our, to me, female soul.
Yeah, and I would add it's not just a connection with Mother Earth, and that is essential because we're made up of stardust, we're made up of clay, we're made up of all of these particles and waves that have uh, sprung up from the earth. And it's really important to know that when we spiral into the darkness, when we spiral into the darkness that's in ourselves, we're also spiraling into our epigenetic line,
Yes.
which takes us back to Africa, which takes
Yes.
us back to uh, 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 a huge force for life.
Yes.
And the cradle of humanity
Yes.
is there. So we come from that cradle, we come from those breasts, we come from that womb. So we're
Yeah.
spiraling into our epigenetic power,
Hmm.
our epigenetic force. I
Yeah.
mean, this woman had the courage to say, right now where we live, there's not enough food, there's not enough water, we don't have the resources, and I'm going to go out and pray there's something out there that will receive us, where we can feed, where we can eat, where our tribe can survive. And she's one of the first waves out,
Mm.
she and her children. And then those children kept going, waving out as more resources were not theirs. They didn't leave Africa because they thought, oh, we don't like it here. They left Africa at the point where they were because they could not eat, because they could not survive. And to survive, they took the risk to live. Some people stayed, of course, because Africa's still populated. But she represents, mitochondrial E represents that wave that went out, that had the courage to go see what's out there, hoping that there's something that would receive them, and had children. And the children went out, and they went out and they populated the known world.
I find that an interesting story. I actually don't know the truth of it. I know the epigenetic piece that we all go back to that Eve in
Mm-hmm.
Africa, that
Mm-hmm.
whether my body is white or not, my lineage goes all the way back to a black mother
Right.
and the earth herself. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my questions is was it a lack of something, or was it innovation? Was it curiosity? Was it always, I mean, that's something to explore in this. It's like, is it something in me that is lacking that I'm trying to locate? Or is it something that is seated in me that allows me to like like a flower, the seeding of something where, your dandelion blows out into the wind and, takes you into new ways of being. I mean, I don't know. It's a,
Well, that's a very different question, and I love it. Um, from what I've seen, from looking at the genealogy and looking at the archaeology, because
mm,
that's the combination of
right.
genealogy and archaeology, and sociology. I mean, there's so many things happening with these waves. But what the scientists are saying is that they were in survival mode. That doesn't mean there wasn't curiosity, because, like I said, plenty stayed. They didn't all leave.
Hmm.
Now, there's no evidence that the ones that stayed survived, but somehow some survived because Africa was populated, and it continued to grow as people migrated out. So, others found a way to stay. Uh, so that has been proven. But in terms of the metaphor for us,
Hmm.
when we do a spiral in, and we're going able to go back to our roots in the land and our earth and our roots in the cosmos, because we're a combination of the cosmos
Yeah.
and earth is part of the cosmos. So there you have it. We also have that. Um, uh, we also, when we spiral
Spiraling
in,
in two ways.
we're
We
spiraling two
are
ways.
like the DNA helix. We're spiraling in two ways.
Exactly. So, I just saw my diffuser. It's running without the lid. Okay. Anyway. So yeah, so we're doing an inward spiral to look at, okay, what is the inner cosmos in us? What is the inner Africa in us? What is the inner um, matriarch in us? Because when I call upon my memory of of the mitochondrial Eve, and mitochondrial DNA is passed mother to daughter always. And of course, she had sons, but um,
No, it's through
that
the
gene did
lineage
not
of the
survive.
female.
So
Uh-huh.
this is the lineage of the female. So that means that I have access to literally every woman that came before me.
Hmm.
I have access to her wisdom, her experience. I have access to her challenges. I have access to her innovation, her genius, her
Hmm.
solutions. I have access to all that she endured, survived, and created,
Hmm.
birth
Hmm.
in my DNA.
Yeah.
How can I um, both celebrate that as well as learn from that? Like, what about this can we not repeat? Because our ancestor mothers have already gone through that. For me, that's what I'm thinking of when I want to spiral in and become aware of that lineage that goes all the way back to the beginning of Homo sapiens. Okay,
Yeah.
that we need to be
No, I
specific.
agree. And
There
I
were
think
other groups, but we're talking about Homo sapiens here.
what I think you're also speaking to is a level of when we spiral back in, something begins to flourish in the other direction.
Mm,
So creativity to me is instinctive. We always talk like in the Western world a lot about survival, like we have to survive. But I actually look at nature. So not only humans, but all of nature. Nature has a way of being creative and playful. And it's in that things show up that I didn't know I knew, or I didn't it, it's the generation of something creative. It's not just
yes,
that I have to find a solution. It's actually that there's impulses to flourish. And
yes,
in the work that I do, with literally the core of our being, I recognize that we often are trying to fix something.
yes,
We've got to fix this. We've got to come up with a solution. But that's a really mechanistic, very hardline idea that survival is all that we're here for. We must survive. And the only things that have survived are things that have worked hard. And I just, like that whole metaphor, it's like, what about play? What about innovation? What about
yeah,
creativity? And that's what I love about our collaboration, because I think our collaborations so far this year have been very playful. There's
yes,
been a
I
lot of
agree.
laughter. There's been a lot of song. There's been a lot of creativity, sometimes around very hard subjects, you
Yep,
know? And to me, that is what coming together provides both of us. It's like the collaboration between us. has created a kind of womb-like setting, not to, so everybody feels safe, but they feel capable and they feel their audacity to take whatever they're trying to metabolize or digest or be nourished by and really make it their own. And it comes out
Yes.
in these funny, wonderful, sometimes tearful, huge tearful events, but also laughing, like the dance and the movement and the paintings and the stories and the poetry. I think
Yeah.
really brought a wealth of, I don't know, it's almost like compost. It's almost like this deep nourishing of the earth itself in myself
Yes.
and in us as women. It's weaving us back together.
Yes. I
And
like that.
our cultural stories are very different. There's hostility, there's betrayal, there's, especially in America, the relationship, because that's all I really know, and yet we have come together to hold space for something that we also all share as women, that are
Hmm.
beyond the social constructs, beyond it doesn't mean we eliminate that. It doesn't mean we don't pay attention to that, but there's something deeply touching about exploring this together.
Yes. And I thank you for seeing the need to explore darkness, explore our darkness,
Yes.
and to explore our darkness together in the darkest time of the year.
Yes.
Like that was your genius to say, this is this is the thing to explore, and this is the time to do so. Because I know how much the word darkness, the fear of darkness, uh, the fear of blackness, which is an extension of darkness, has negatively impacted me. And that's one of the things that I
Absolutely.
shared in the last course we had, where I said specifically, we really, for our power to really, um, for us to really harness our power, we can't do it without embracing darkness. We can't without honoring the darkness within us. We can't do it. Uh, and mainly because we've been taught it's horrible, it's ugly, it's dirty, it's unclean, it's impure, it's our lowness, it's the things that are wrong with us. And we have so many dark spaces in us as women that men don't have, and so the more we have, the more we're like, yeah, we can't be trusted. Because you have all those dark spaces. And this is where our power is, though.
Mhm.
That is where our not only our power but our superpowers are in the darkness, and how amazingly well have they archetyped um, no architected a distrust of our inner darkness,
Yes.
a fear of our inner darkness,
Yes.
a disdain of our inner darkness. How genius of patriarchy to do that to us,
Yeah.
so that we don't even harness our own power. Because if we did, we wouldn't put up with their shit. And if we did, we wouldn't listen to them. And if we did, we probably wouldn't be submissive. And if we did, we'd be much harder to control, because we would know about our power versus our weaknesses, our defaults, our broken parts, our just dirtiness. We'd have a whole different perspective on ourselves, that we wouldn't just take their shit.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's a piece that for me as a privileged white woman who lives in a culture that I can be pretty hidden and invisible, um, I don't have to confront in my daily life. I don't have to walk into a store and be confront. It's like I'm invisible. I'm white. I can move around very without being seen.
Hmm.
And as an older woman, I'm even more invisible. When I was a young woman, I wasn't invisible. I was, preyed upon. But as an older woman, I became one day, I realized I'm invisible. And invisibility has superpowers. But
Indeed.
they do. But it also has that idea of not really considering how darkness plays out in everyone else's life and how darkness can be abstracted for me as something that is other.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, not only is there richness in this relationship between us, that I feel nourished by you and I feel seen by you, but I also want you to feel seen and nourished by me. And so
Yes.
now we're working together to heal this. I think of as caste, as a caste system that has put us on this scope of way of being of what's the finest, which is heaven and non-earth and going to the cosmos and whiteness and kind of like a separation from womb, from mother, from needing anything, from I mean, it's such a direct kind of penetration of nature herself that I see it from that perspective, and yet you and others have helped me realize you're living with it on a day-to-day layering. I live on it as a woman. I'm invisible on many levels professionally because I'm not a white male.
Mm-hmm.
So on the hierarchy, I'm down from there. But then we have this hierarchy of where the darker your skin, the less you are, that has no criteria except that somebody created this caste system, as a power over. And what I want white women to understand is that we've inherited that, but we've also, as you say, been imprisoned by it in terms of submitting to something because it benefits us.
Mm.
But at the same time, we are colluding with it.
Yes.
Unless we can start interfacing as humans with
Mm-hmm.
our sisters, our the other women, we are still part of the structure that we might bitch about all the time, but we're
Exactly.
still colluding with it. We're
Mm-hmm.
still actually internalized it. So part of my journey inward darkness is to look at that collusion. Where does it show up? Where do I deny the darkness in me?
Yes.
Where do I not deeply feel uh, the beauty of it in me? Where, because that's part of that scariness. Well, if I don't look at it, I'll be okay. But I don't know even how it's going to play out in this class. I just know that part of healing in the real sense, like part of regeneration, is returning to darkness. It's a constant cycle. We have to go through this time of incubation. And one of the things I'm learning about incubation, which is wintertime, that
Mm-hmm.
idea of going into the dark, literally slowing down, not paying tribute to the fast forward, we have to keep going, I have to keep growing, I have to keep accomplishing, no matter who I'm throwing out of the way, I have to keep going for this goal. To stop all of that is not only a radical act, but it's a way of pro metabolizing the grief that is there generationally, that allows me to actually show up more real in this moment and in the next moment so
Yeah.
that I'm not carrying that suppression in me that also suppresses others.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah. So that's my
absolutely.
part in this journey together is how I see the dynamics of working with you and working with this subject.
Well, that's beautiful. And that's a really good place of launch because we have so many women that are going to be coming from all kinds of walks of life and backgrounds.
Yeah.
And what's really important is that we've all been told it doesn't matter whether you're in Europe or in Australia, New Zealand, or America or Canada, it doesn't matter where you are. Um, this this particular lie about the ugliness, the dirtiness, the undesirability of our darkness has been taught around the globe.
Yeah.
There's not one culture that hasn't been taught it, and it's been most pernicious and most horrific, teaching this lie to people of color, to people with dark skin.
Yes.
Um, we've all been sold this lie, and so, and was designed on purpose to make sure we don't access our power, because matriarchal societies, between goddess loving cultures, between cultures that honored, worshipped the divine feminine for millions and millions of years. This whole thing called patriarchy and white male God, one word, as Christina Cleveland calls it, white male God, is new. We're talking 6,000 years
Hmm.
compared to billions. So it's
Yeah.
a very new phenomena to have that which is divine, which is feminine, which is dark, which is earth, which is womb, be made a criminal, a crime, ugly, something worth killing for, something worth burning you for, something worth destroying your temples for. This is a new phenomenon.
Hmm.
But because we've been sold this as this, and not only that, this lie that it's all worthy of being destroyed, and we've been sold it like it's always been this way. We've been denied access to, no, it hasn't always been this way. The very people fighting us and destroying us in the overculture are the children of women who worshiped goddesses, or the children of women who worship Mother God, of the children of women who kept their villages and tribes alive through their relationship to the earth, through their relationship um, with the plants, through their relationship with the stars, and understanding how they fit in through their menses, how they connected with who understood what the movements of the stars meant in terms of where food would be found, where the hunters will be coming, the prey would be coming, when there was time to hunt or not. They understood that relationship. These are the men who are the children, sons of these women who turn around and kill them
Yeah.
and destroy them. That's what we've been denied. We've been denied the truth of our innate divinity, and that's not something small, because this lie that uh, God is white, male, beyond, punitive, authoritative, uh, controlling, uh, has not brought much light to much people. Fear, yes. Control, yes. Altered behaviors, yes. There's a lot of things that has come with that. But we've been stripped of so much more by not having a maternal, loving, kind, compassionate, empathetic uh, uh, source of unconditional love.
Yeah.
We've lost everything because, one, we are created in that image. Two, all those innate gifts and powers are in us automatically. And also, that is what has made the tribe survive, because women don't just focus on me, my kids, my family. The women always focus on how can the tribe survive? How can we keep everybody safe?
Yeah.
How can we
Community.
feed everybody? It's a circle, it's inclusive, it's like the survival of all of us. And that's how we did survive,
Hmm.
because the women were thinking about how everyone's voice matters, how everyone's say matters in our survival, how everyone's solutions to crop shortage was important because we got to survive. The
Hmm.
men didn't think of that.
Yeah.
And if we have any doubt, all we have to do is look at what they're looking at now. Me, how much money I have, how many tours I have, how many cars I have, how many ships I have, how many, like, they're not looking at how we all benefit. They're looking at how they can get more money for themselves and grow their name. Women are not looking at that. When women are in leadership, that are coming from, that are embodying a feminine form of leadership, they are looking at how can as many resources get to as many people to solve as many problems as possible.
Yes.
You have female leadership that is very much archetyped on top of male leadership, and they are just men in a women's body. So I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but that's internalized misogyny.
That's what I'm talking about. Is one of the investigations, I think, during the 6 sessions is noticing what I have internalized that actually is harmful to myself,
Hmm.
you know?
Where
And
you're your own worst enemy.
yes, and that's part of that feeling imprisoned of like, the prison door is open, but I don't walk out, because somehow I'm not conscious of how I've been holding that, and that's in the dark in my estimation. That's in my
Right.
darkness around why aren't I joining other women and being part of this? Why am I repeating the patterns of uh, patriarchy, not necessarily men themselves, but patriarchy as a system, patriarchy
Yes.
as a top-down model, as a suppression over, as a penetration of, as a sourcing of taking. Those
Yes.
kind of gestures are in me and they show up whether I'm aware of them or not because I, drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
Hmm.
And one of the things I have to say that is very different when we talk about the lineage of Black bodies versus white bodies is how much closer Black culture is to the mother. I know this personally, watching, even speaking to who showed up in my realm of when I was writing and I reached out to get feedback. It was Black men who responded to me. And when writers, who associate with my work in trauma or in creativity, and I was thinking, that's so interesting. White men don't ever come and tell me, I like your work.
Mm.
Yeah, no, they don't. Because they're competitive. And it's like the family structure and the holding together of community is essential and just part of Black culture, which is part of survival, right? We need each
Hmm.
other. This is how we're going to do this. But there's also something about the valuing of mother. And I'm not saying every Black man values women the same way, but I'm saying that there's something deeply embedded in that I when I'm around people who feel or think differently than I do, I'm taken back by how much, like, for example, the two men I'm thinking about, I realize they care about their grandmothers.
Yes.
And that to me, I'm their grandmother. And so they just responded. It was probably instinctive. It just like wasn't even, it just, they didn't even think twice about responding. And it was like such a shock to my white body. It was like, oh my God, I'm getting a real response. And that's because those grandmothers hold sanctity. They hold this all the way back. There's something, as much as it's been defiled and vilified, there's something there that you carry, that that I feel has been whitewashed and bleached and ivory soaped out of me.
Woo, girl, that's a mouthful right there.
Yeah. So I'm
Mm.
not saying your situation's better. I'm saying
No,
there's
no, no.
something that you
You
have
said
a
it.
direct, that
I
I
mean,
was like, I'm been sterilized in some
no,
way.
no, and I said that's a mouthful saying that one sentence you just said. We could talk 3 hours on just that one sentence about what's been whitewashed
No.
out of out of humanity, out
Yes.
of white women,
Yes.
and even out of women of color. I mean, so let me just say this: out of non-white women, this whitewashing of truth, this whitewashing of truth is pervasive, and we all have been taught that that's better.
Yes.
We've all been taught that to be whitewashed is ideal, to be whitewashed of our roots, to be whitewashed of our connection to earth, to be whitewashed uh, out of believing and knowing where our power really is. I mean, all that is whitewashing,
Yeah.
and they've painted it in such a way that we want it. We want to be whitewashed. We want to be washed pure. We want to be washed clean. We want to be purified and sterilized. We want to be civilized. We want to be the ideal of civilized and of arriving. Like we have arrived when we're completely whitewashed.
Well, we want the cut between being an animal body and being a human body. And for me,
Who's
that
the
is
we that wants the cut? Who's the we?
there is a way that humanity has said, I am not an animal. And when I sit and tell people, in fact, my granddaughter asked me that question, I said something about being an animal, and she looked at me and she goes, we're an animal? And I said, yes, we're part of the earth. You know, like there's such a disconnect, like as if we're not part of the earth is a major cut. It's cut through religion, through culture, through education, through, I mean, it's a big whitewash. So like the image
The
of,
biggest whitewash ever.
yeah,
Ever.
if you're holding a plant that has those white little tentacles, right? You know, the root system, you know, they've taken like all the dirt off of it, you know, and there's the plant. I feel like that's me, you know, here's the plant. But without those roots being connected to the darkness and the kinship, that's what I'm talking about. Part of what we're working with is the isolation of individuation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about how humans have always lived in the matriarchal is together in some
Yes.
kind of kinship. And that's how Mother Nature does it. Everything is, we're not
Inter Interconnected,
intertwined,
intertwined, and
entangled,
entangled.
yes, and inter-supported.
Yes.
Yes, and that can look all different ways, but that's the mullied piece that is like, oh no, you don't want to go there. You want to individuate. You want to become this separate thing.
You want to be special and unique and different. You
Yeah.
want to be higher and above them. You
Yes.
want to reign over them. I mean, there's
Yes.
so
That's
many
the whole,
ways.
yeah, there it is. Like rise
That's the
above.
that's
Yeah.
the lure of modernity that
Yes,
is
there it
keeping
is. You've hit it on the nose. The lure of modernity. And so when we're playing together, we've got these layers. We've got our personal stories of how that impacted us. We've got our cultural, our family, familiar, but we've got this larger container of
hmm
modernity that is no longer sustainable. And we're there and we all know it. And we all feel how the web of life is being literally torn apart. So to me, maybe it's a big idea, but to me, coming together is an invitation that there's these there's these ways we can start to weave the fabric of life back together through our
Yes.
womanhood, through our female soul.
Yes.
We can nourish her together, and by having that connection, we can find value in being together.
Yes.
We can find kinship in being together, even though our stories and lives are very different. So wherever people, women come, we have that together. We,
Yes. And that's the beautiful. And and as much as there will be a tiny presentation of history, genealogy, and physics, most importantly, we're going to be looking at everything that's beautiful and amazing and phenomenal and extraordinary and magical and mystical about our bodies,
yes,
about our beings,
yeah,
about that which we can't see, that's
mm,
hidden,
yeah,
but that is alive and fertile and ready for us to plant the seeds we want to plant. Because
mm,
this is the soil of our being. We
hmm,
can plant any seed, which is an idea. We can plant any concept, any solution. We can inquire and turn around in the soil. We have the inner earth, the inner soil within us.
mm,
Let's explore that soil, that sacred soil in which we plant something, we birth it. Whether we
yes,
birth it through the womb, whether we birth it through our voice, what's spoken, whether we're birthing it through the peace that we are emanating, or the rage that we're emanating. It's all of it. That which we have been told is ugly and dangerous and to be afraid of, we are going to dismantle that lie as
composted.
much as we can in succession. We're gonna
Let's
give you
go,
a
girl.
starter kit on dismantling and decolonizing the lie, the whitewash.
Yeah. I think the composting of it is, I'm a composter, and I'm
Mhm.
really amazed at what happens when you do these layers. And we have 6 sessions to do these layers, and when one comes on top of the other, and you give some pause and some aeration and some watering and fluid movement, and then boy, things just start coming that you don't even know, that we don't even know what we're sprouting exactly. We're moved in ways that surprise us and surprise each other, and that to me is the joyousness of our course.
Yeah, yes, 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 and yes. And of course, if you've not taken any one of the courses with Liz and I, then you don't know how much fun it is. Because she did hint at it that there's play and there's creativity and there's dancing and there's laughter and there's theater and there's I pull in all of the arts
Yeah.
as a way to uncover the mystery, because the main gift that that we've been taught to be ashamed of is that we are full of mystery.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's mysterious.
Yes. Life is
We
mysterious.
don't understand what goes on in the body. Most women, even if they've had children, don't even know all of the phases their body goes through to grow the child. They may know what the baby is going through in the 9 months, but do they know what's going on in them?
Mm.
How their body's changing, how their consciousness is changing, how much they are at the same time holding a child and being altered by the child, how much it's going in both directions. There's
Absolutely.
things that's going into the baby, but there's things that the baby is giving to the mother.
Yeah. Life
Yeah,
is mysterious. Life is
the
very mysterious.
mysteriousness of all of our organs and
Yeah.
how they work and how they are intertwined and how they're interconnected and how they're their own galaxies. I mean, do we even know how magnificent this mysterious body is that has all these um, openings,
Yeah.
all these senses,
Yeah.
all these ways to connect with the universe, to express the universe, to be the universe? Do you
Mm.
even know
Yeah.
how amazing you are? Because we're going to be talking about that in playful, fun, imaginative, creative ways. We're going to be opening up that. And that means the minute you discover them, there are things that are there right there, painful experiences, painful, traumatic experiences that will come immediately up to say, no, that can't be true.
Mhm.
And this is the evidence. And we'll heal that. And we'll take the steps to healing that. There are going to be stories that you've been told that you've been told were truth, that you were told were history, that you were told is the facts that are lies, and we're going to uncover that. And you can choose to release them, or you can choose to fight for them,
Mhm.
because that's what we do. We're like, no, no, that can't be right, because it will untangle so much of your world being if these things that you've held on to for so long become revealed that they're lies. It's like, ah, then
Yeah, the
there's an
betrayals, the
unraveling,
betrayals, yeah.
the
A
unraveling of
betrayal to
all the things,
oneself.
the
Yeah,
betrayals to ourselves that
which
we
we don't know until we're there.
that we were complicit in because we don't know.
No.
And so we are constantly going to be seeing things that we never saw before and having to make new choices as
Well,
we
and
move through the darkness.
I think that takes courage.
It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, and you've talked about courage a lot. And, I talk about fear, but really, it's not like you get rid of the fear. You just decide to have the audacity to be, courageous in because you really long for something. And that's one of the ones
Hmm.
we did is what is our longing? And when you really have a longing, you can feel that longing. You're willing to kind of be with what is so that your longing can really take root.
And we have to give ourselves permission for long, because
Mhm.
that's actually what's been beat out of us.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been
Don't
beaten
want
out
for
of
it.
us. It's been beaten out of us
Yeah.
to long for something,
Yeah.
to long for more than what the scraps we've been given,
Mhm.
to long for more than the cage we're in. Because we don't see it as a cage, it's because it's very gilded, which means has a lot of amenities. It
Yeah.
has a lot of perks. It has a lot of things that we are getting from it. So when you say the cage, the prison door is open, but you don't leave out, that's because you don't know it's a prison.
Mhm.
It's just like I'm in a comfortable place. I'm getting. I mean, there are things I don't get, but there's so many things I'm getting. Why would I leave here? Hmm.
Mhm.
There's reasons why people don't leave the
But
prison.
that longing is an innate longing that surpasses the comfortability.
Yeah, but if they could remember that, and that's one of the things we're going to look at reawakening those longings that you probably gave up on, you let go of, you said it was pointless, it was that you
Never going to
pointless and
happen.
silly, never going to happen, that you actually have brought resignation to.
Yes.
Those are the things that are I'm most interested in reviving.
Mm. Yeah.
Because so much of our power is in the desires of our heart and the longings.
Yeah, it
So
is.
much of our truth and power is there. And for overculture to beat it out of us so that we don't even want it, lets you know how important it is that they needed to squash it
Yeah.
and take it from us. That tells you how important it is for us that the whole focus has been to squash it.
Well, one of the things that came out of the two, this is our third session,
Their dance.
third dance together. Um, and one of the things that it impressed me, that to circle back, is women coming together,
Mm,
because everyone, is different ages, different places in the world. What you're bringing a different story, but one of the things of working together, or holding space together, of just being together,
hmm
is that so much of the betrayal or the squashing of longing came through other women, our
yeah.
mothers, our grandmothers, our
Mm.
aunties, and that kept coming up. I didn't make that up. It's like it just kept showing up, that who told you couldn't do that, or who said stop trying, or whatever, was another woman. So that also, to me, is why it's so important for women to come together and work with nourishing the female soul together, because yeah, the women in our lives, or in the generations, have played a part and colluded with this, mostly probably out of like, don't even go there because it's not going to happen, so don't waste your time, or you're in trouble if you try to beat the system. So it's, whatever reasons, or it didn't happen for me, so it can't happen for you. The resentment can be there of, don't,
There are many contributing factors to
there,
them
there is.
squashing us. Some of it is to protect us, and some of us is to um, is their internalized misogyny
Yeah.
taking over.
Yes.
They
And
have
that's a
become
dark place to go
they
and
have become
explore.
representatives of the men of
Yeah.
patriarchy. They have become representatives of um, that wickedness. So
Yeah.
some of it they're conscious of, and some of it they're not even conscious of.
And so we've internalized that ourselves. So sometimes we're playing that out in our own self. We're the ones strangling our longing.
Yeah,
We're the
now our mothers and aunties and teachers are not doing that. We've taken the baton from them, and now we do it.
Yeah.
And that's something to look at. Where have we become the very thing we hated, didn't like, didn't appreciate in others? We're doing that to ourselves now.
Yeah.
And that we will explore in our darkness together, ways that we can stop that,
Yeah. Mm.
choose again, be loving toward ourselves,
Yes.
be honoring of our voice, be honoring of our desires, be honoring of our longing, be honoring of our gifts,
Yeah.
honoring of this body
Yeah.
and all of its darkness. Do you know there's not one part of your body that's not in darkness?
I love
We
that.
can only see it if you cut it open and then add light.
Right. Right. We
So
are
there's
we
not
are darkness.
we are
Just like
it.
the ocean. We are
We
dark.
are we are it. Yes, there's the part that's on the surface where the light can penetrate, what, like 20 feet or something, before you don't see it. So the entire galaxy that is the ocean, which is as far deep as we can go high. There is no light down there. And they're having a whole party. They're fine. They're just doing their thing and existing and swimming around. And that's their norm.
Mhm. Well,
The beauty
that's that idea of if you don't
longing
see
for
it, you
that.
can't believe it. Whereas I think turning towards the sensory system is one of the ways we cultivate in this course, the actual movement and sensory piece, in which you don't have to see it to feel it, to sense
Mm-hmm.
it, to explore it. And something in that deep, deep richness of earth moves us. And as it moves us, our longing awakens. And so we don't have to necessarily dismantle it. We just have to allow it to move us. And that movement shows up in creative ways that we don't even know. That's where the innovation happens.
Yes. And that's where the play happens as well.
Yeah, it does.
And so
Okay.
we will definitely be playing. So if you're thinking, oh my God, this course is going to be so heavy, we're going to talk about dark things, and we're going to suffer and just really look at all the things that are just yucky about us. Why would I want to do that? Because it's fun.
Why not?
Because this course will be very fun. There will be a lot of laughter. There will be a lot of gathering with your sisters. There will be singing. There will be all kinds of great ways to look at this, because actually this is a return to the awareness of your inner divinity, and what other pursuit is more important than that.
Absolutely.
It's
Thank
worth
you.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me watch my little finger there. Okay.
You're gonna have to
Thank
paint
you.
it black.
It better not be there in November. Let's put it that way. Just some logistics. Shall we give the dates?
Gee, the dates are we begin on Thursday, November 3rd, for 6 sessions on Mondays and Thursdays, and we end on Monday, the 21st.
There you go. And
And
if you
core awareness is where all the details and the registration is. So
coreawareness.com.
CORE on awareness, AWARENESS.com.
Yeah. So, and if you see this after the course has happened, because that's the beauty of video, it stays forever. Um, we will always be engaging in some aspect of this conversation, because Liz and I are committed to being liberated, completely decolonized, sovereign beings. And we will always come up with programs that allow women to discover their innate divinity, their sovereign selves, their empowered selves. So whether you miss this round or not, we're always here. You can always go to Core Awareness and find out, what are we doing next? So I don't want you to think I missed something. It's like, no.
Well, and there's also the thing is that if you can't attend live, which we encourage you to do,
Yes.
say maybe some sessions you can, some sessions you can't, or whatever. The people who are registered will have access to recordings. And so you can participate in and out if you need to. We encourage you to show up for each session because there's a richness in being there and being there for each other.
Yes.
But we also recognize that things happen and life happens and
And time zones happen.
time zones happen. So we did and have made them recordings. They're not available after the course is over, but they're available throughout this, so you're participating. So hopefully you'll watch it and you'll participate, and you'll do the work, and maybe you'll be able to show up at one of them, or however you want to interface with us. We have
Yes.
accepted that that is also very rich for people, and the feedback has been very rich.
Yes. So whether you do it live with us or participate through the recordings, you will get a new you out
Mm,
of this
mm.
by
An
doing the
even more real
exercises,
you,
a more authentic you,
an
you know,
authentic you.
and really do the exercises, do the assignments, because the power is in
Yes.
that inner cultivation that we do between the sessions, the
Yeah.
inner journey we go
The
on between
alchemy.
sessions.
That's the
That's
alchemy.
where the alchemy happens
That's
of,
right.
of the composting. So yeah, give
Yeah.
yourself that gift. Give yourself that gift
All
and
right.
come join us
Yeah.
as we explore our darkness, our inner darkness together.
Together.
See you soon.